sometimes I have to remind myself that I was chosen for this time, for this life, for what's going on and what it is that I'm doing on my path. I mean, my whole life. When I was even just like a little kid, I felt this calling. Something was happening in this reality, in this world, and I was meant to be here to somehow help, to be of service. I know this from when I was a little kid, and I'm not a little kid anymore by far, and I'm still on my path, and I'm still figuring it out. For a long time, it was really more like 3D based, where I was creative musician, songwriter, artist, like very outspoken, very headstrong, very, like deep feeling, and like trying to share all these things, especially through my creativity, and with as many people as I could. And I had some success with that. But it wasn't really until like I was much older, like I'd say like 2012, really, when I like had what people might call like the dark night of the soul. I would really see it more as like an awakening to like a part of myself, a more holistic and the spiritual side, that although I was a avid reader and had a lot of interest in especially Eastern philosophy, but spirituality in general, and like the histories of like religion and ancients and things, it really wasn't until I sort of hit this point where I was actually like really depressed, like really severely depressed for a long time, that like I felt the hand of God, like the true, like the light shine on me in like my darkest moment that I had ever experienced. And I had a pretty gnarly life in a lot of ways. So when I hit this point and it was gonna be all over, and I was stopped dead in my tracks, by an angel, to be all honest, an intuitive, a healer, who saw me and called me to me at the very last moment of what would have been my life, and told me that I couldn't do that. Not because they wouldn't have seen what I was doing. I was about to. And this being stopped me, called me over and said to me, "You cannot go do what you're about to do. They are telling me that you can't do that you are needed here. I promise you, this is the truth. Like, I was saved from the worst of fates." And they said, "You are needed here." And then this being started to name all sorts of things about me that they couldn't possibly have known. This is a stranger. People in my life, in my family. And they told me that you have your wings, and that I have work to do. I'm still trying to figure out what that work was. That was over a dozen years ago, or is, and I'm still working at it as best I can every day to try and, see how I can better myself and be of service to others and this world, this reality, and to all. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And I think that that's what we're all here to do in some way. Whatever that is, we all have our own individual path. And that's why, I named my coaching business, and this YouTube channel is called Renegade Vibration, because like it's to buck the system of standardized oppression and, fear and, mediocrity and, just to be the cog. Like, you have your own path and you have your own renegade vibration. That is what is needed here in this reality. We need everyone to be themselves, their true self. Come into their power. come into their power and to stop giving our power away. It doesn't matter to who. I'm not just like governments or authority figures, but like to the things that pull us into, emotional places that we don't want to be, or make us compromise in doing things that we know we don't want to do. We want to serve the energy that we feel resonates with us. And yes, we need to figure out what that is, and figure out how it works with the tactile world, this phenomenal world. This is not just a physical reality. It's not a physical reality experience solely that you are having, that we are having, but it is partially that, so that's still part of the language. And being that it is still part of the language, we need to speak that language at the same time that we're speaking our spiritual language and our manifestations and all that kind of, intentions and things. All of that stuff is totally great, and the meditation is the melding of these things. Meditation is the practice, of learning how to balance yourself, so that when you are not meditating and you are in the experience of existence, you are able to pause. And I see that like the bullet time in the Matrix, where Neo's able to pause, and stop the bullets because of all that stuff that's coming at you, and sometimes it just keeps piling on, and it keeps piling on, and it just feels like, oh my God, it's so much stuff. And I'm making this video because I've had a number of days now where that's what it's felt like, and I've almost like, I lost balance. Squirrels today. I've lost my balance for a number of days, and and that wells up these emotions that, like, these feelings that they grind against like my true nature, and cause me to, they give me the choice to act in a way that I don't want to. And if I'm not balancing myself and actively working at that, then that's what happens, and I end up making decisions that I'm not happy with. And even like all this like weird like frenetic energy has been around me in the last few days. Like I'm like being clumsy, and like just little things like because I could feel it. It's almost like it's like little barbs that are like coming out of me because I hadn't been centered enough in myself to stop and pause and breathe and say it's going to be okay. And like maybe this situation isn't ideal, but it's also here to teach me something, whatever this is that is attempting to elicit a response from me. I can give it the response that I truly want to, even if the situation isn't ideal, as long as I take the time to center and balance myself. Probably my biggest takeaway in life, like meditation is no joke. As my mentor, John Haspel, used to say, he would say that meditation is not for the faint of heart, but it is for everyone. Because you will go deep. It is my definition of meditation is a practical exercise that teaches us how to maneuver the world when we are not meditating. However, through this practical exercise, we are opened up to the deepness of all that is. To be awakened to our spiritual nature that's always there. This is a spiritual adventure that you're on. It's a spiritual choose your own, adventure tale that we're living. Like, there's often a disconnect with people, I think, with like the sort of like spiritual and esoteric existence and the tactile existence. They're one. It's all one. You're creating everything around you all the time in tandem with your higher self. So it's not like you always know exactly what's happening, because your higher self can see way above you, ahead of you, and has a plan, through your intention of what you want. So you don't always know what the answer is. And sometimes the path leads you down directions that you didn't necessarily want to plan on or want to go, but there's a reason, because there's still something that you got to learn to get to the next step, which is how I've been feeling a lot lately, but I know that it's all on the up, and I'm feeling much better. Thank you for taking this journey here just in these last 10 minutes with me. If you have watched this, if you're on this path, and you feel this, thing that I'm laying down, thanks. Cool. I'm glad that we're on this together. Cosmic, siblings. I wish you well. If you want someone to talk to, feel free to reach out. You can reach me through the YouTube. You can reach me through my email, which is below every video. I do coaching with people. That is what I have decided that I would work on. And I do work a lot with men, specifically men who have been through similar things to what I've talked about here, but I do work with women as well, and I have quite a bit, as a matter of fact, in my professional, private practice. And, but if that is something that you feel called to do and you'd like to hear, about more about how, I help people with that, or, it's, let me know, please reach out, and I would love to talk to you and see if, I could be of service to you in that way. And if not, and you like this anyway, feel free to subscribe. Right? I'll never say that, but there's plenty of videos on my channel, Renegade Vibration, that you can dive into and hopefully enjoy, or however that is. Talk to you soon. I hope this helps some way. Peace.